Thank you very much for joining us for the midday news on Camnet TV. To present it, my name is Makoko Akozi. First, we take a look at the stories making the headlines. Nakonde child abductor and 3 convicts escape from custody. Eastern Province farmers demand timely payment from FRA. In international news, Greece votes in parliamentary polls for second time in 5 weeks. And in sports news, Copper Queens ready for Switzerland. For details of these and other stories, join us shortly after this break.
The FAR's 2022-2023 season is over, and the 2023-2024 season is around the corner. Camnet Stars Football Club, popularly known as the local national team, is looking for young talented football players from across Zambia, aged between 16 and 23 years old. Camnet soccer trials will be held on the 30th of June and the 1st of July 2023 in Lusaka at 09 hours. The venue is Kabulonga Boys Secondary School grounds. Your skills could earn you a place in the world of soccer greats in Zambia and the world. Camnet Stars Football Club, the local national team, is a team born for greatness with visionary players. Let us join hands and contribute to high levels of Zambian football standards. Don't miss these trials. The future of Zambian soccer is dependent on you. Make a date with us. Remember, you are born for greatness. See you there.
Welcome back, and another news in detail. A former security guard of Magnum Security in Lusaka, Son Siku, is living in dire poverty following the company's alleged refusal to pay him his retirement benefits after serving for 5 years from 2016 to 2021. Mr. Nsiku, who resides in Lusaka's Mutendere compound, says life has been hard for him and his family due to lack of resources, forcing him to look for pieceworks to survive. Meanwhile, Magnum Security, through its assistant human resource officer, only identified as Mr. Piri, has dismissed the allegations laid on the company. Details in the following report.
This is Son Siku, a teacher by profession and former security guard at Magnum Security in Lusaka. Mr. Nsiku says he was in 2016 forced to work outside his profession as a teacher due to the scarcity of jobs and opted to start working as a security guard at Magnum Security in order to fend for his family. He, however, alleges that he has been fighting an ongoing battle with the company from 2021 when he stopped working there, as the company has allegedly been refusing to pay him his benefits, which amount to over 5,000 kwacha.
Imagine 5 years if I were to leave a job 5 years ago. What am I eating? How am I surviving? What shelter am I using? So I'm very deeply concerned about the happening at Magnum Security, which is in Binjimfung Road. May His Excellency come to our aid, and Honorable Minister of Labor, to help us, because this thing has been going on for a long time. We are now tired. People there, they are not being paid. They are suffering. How are they going to feed their families? How are they going to give their landlords? We are very much in trouble if the Minister of Labor and His Excellency and the government at large, if they cannot help us.
However, Magnum Security Assistant Human Resource Officer, who only identified himself as Mr. Piri in a phone interview, had this to say.
That is not true. We are paying people who have worked 10 years. But what can make us fail to pay him 5,000 kwacha? Let him come through HR office.
Okay, you should ask for yourself or Mr. Ngulube.
Either me or Mr. Ngulube, any of us.
Okay, so when can he come? Are you able to give a date or just any time?
Even on Monday or tomorrow. Though we have a management meeting from 9 hours, I think he can come through after lunch, that is 14 hours.
The affected former security guard has called on the Ministry of Labor and Social Security to take a close interest on the operations of security companies to ensure that they adhere to labor laws. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
4 convicts and 1 remandee have escaped from a holding cell in Nakonde district of Muchinga province in the early hours of Sunday, the 25th of June 2023. Muchinga Police Commanding Officer Kaonda Mubanga says the 4 escaped from lawful custody by breaking a padlock on the grill door of the cell number 2 and a burglar bar, which was already cut by an unknown instrument believed to be an axe. Mr. Mubanga has identified the suspect as Obed Siame, charged with an offense of abduction, and is serving a 7 years jail sentence, and 23-year-old John Kasomo, slapped with 5 years jail sentence, charged with the offense of breaking into a building and committing a felony therein. Others are 25-year-old Alinani Singoi, who was slapped with 5 years for the offense of breaking into a building and committing a felony therein, and the 23-year-old Kondwani Chabinga, who was convicted to 18 months offense of burglary and theft. Mr. Mubanga also says the remandee, identified as Lazarus Sichembe, charged for offense of murder, is also among those who have escaped. Brief facts are that 3 officers were on duty whilst working around 01 hours when they overheard a strange noise behind the cell, as if someone was breaking the wall. The police command says the 2 male constables went to check what was happening and found the suspects climbing the wall fence, and 4 had already gone over the top of the fence and managed to run away. Meanwhile, officers fired 2 warning shots and only managed to apprehend 1 identified as Alinani Singoi, who later narrated to the officers how they escaped. Police have since launched a manhunt for the remaining escapees. The Docas workers under the Woodlands Central Mission District and Kafue Mission District have empowered 9 people with various items to start up businesses. Woodlands Central Seventh-day Adventist Church Secretary Agnes Lumbuka says the church had to look within and identify the vulnerable who needed help. She says the role of the Docas is to identify problems and be part of the solution. Here's a report.
In the spirit of Ubuntu, the Docas workers under the Woodlands Central Mission District and Kafue Mission District have empowered various people in Lusaka's Mtendere, Kalingalinga, Garden and Kalikiliki compounds. Among those that have been empowered is a woman with 10 children, 4 of which are deaf.
An amazing story of her. She has 10 children, 4 of them are deaf, and she has continued to work very hard to take care of the family. In the same way, we are empowering her a few items to start with.
It may not be enough, but at least it's something to start with. So the mothers would love to see you progress in this. Don't eat the money, don't eat the capital. Please continue, and then keep updating us. Challenges that you'll find as you start your business.
And you know, as the workforce, we want to see our children not to be begging in the streets, but they need the finances in their homes, that they can also help others. Same way, as we empower the other young man, we are doing the same to this young man.
The beneficiaries of the items are so grateful to the Docas mothers and their gesture, which they say will go a long way in uplifting their lives.
I have seen what the Docas mothers have done. The donation that they have done to me, it has really soothed my heart. I really feel happy, and I thank the Docas mothers and also God. I thank them very much for helping me with this and how I'm going to start my business. In the past, I never had any business.
zikomo kwambiri thandiza badokasi echitava piriniripe vantu vandiya kuchitakandeba kusungirako family yanga nonga zikomo kwambiri ambuya asogolere zikomo.
The Dorcas workers have since pledged to continue helping those in need, further stating that the role of the Dorcas is not just to wear a uniform, but identify problems and help to be part of the solution.
Most of them want to start business, so we've empowered them with a number of items to help them start the businesses that they want. Among them, we had a mother who has 10 children and 4 of them are deaf, so she's also been empowered with a number of items to start a business. The total cost of the items empowered, I think it's almost about 10,000.
Meanwhile, the Kafiwa Mission District, led by Pastor Tembo, also made donations of mattresses to Kafiwe General Hospital. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Farmers in Mukaika constituency of the Eastern Province have called on the Food Reserve Agency, FRA, to live up to its word of paying them within a 7-day period after purchasing their commodity. Speaking to Camnet News, one of the farmers, Monica Sakala, says some farmers had to wait for up to 3 months in 2022 before receiving their payments. She, however, notes that paying up on time will help the farmers have enough time to plan in readiness for the next farming season. We have details in the following report.
These are farmers at one of the Food Reserve Agency FRA satellite depots in Mukaika constituency of Eastern Province who have responded to the call by the FRA for farmers to start bringing their maize for purchase now that the 2023 crop marketing season has officially been launched. The farmers, however, have one plea for the FRA, and that is quick payment upon purchase of their grain to help them fend for their families and buy inputs on time in preparation for the next farming season. One of the farmers, Monica Sakala, says farmers would be happy if the agency lives up to its promise of paying them within 7 days after purchase of their grain.
Tinagulisa mwezi mu August, tinabolora ndira ndrama mu December. Yonse aya mamanthi tingosesera ndrama sizibwera ndrama. So apateze doubt uta ora tipeleke chani chi milisi yatu tikapeleka penangu izangala futi kwati last year amene izinachedwa ndrama.
Another farmer, Madalena Sakala, is elated with the buying of a 50-kilogram bag of maize at 280 kwacha, stating that farmers will be more motivated to sell to FRA than to briefcase buyers.
Ine nakondwera kuti vatisegulira kuno va FRA. Ndava tonzovutika mwandi kuti tione ndirama tenzogulisa kuma briefcase buyers. So lomba vantu vakhala na encourage yakuti tikagulise ku FRA lomba tikatenge ndirama yokwanira bwino pamosi yakuti tikapereka ku fertilizer.
The farmers have further called for education on climate-smart farming to protect their crop from destruction during the next farming season, stating that most of them were negatively affected in the 2022-2023 rain season. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Eastern Province.
Kabwe Central Member of Parliament, Chrysosta Piri, has urged the church to take part in the ongoing rebuilding of the country's economy. Speaking during the church service at Kabwe Central Seventh-day Adventist Church, the lawmaker pledged her commitment to continue supporting the church in all its endeavors. The lawmaker further urged congregants at the church to come on board and participate in the fish farming project initiated by her office. And speaking as a guest pastor, Manda Hill District Pastor Lukena Monde says the SDA Church will continue lobbying for both civic and government leaders for its future projects.
We are planning to be the biggest supplier and producer of fish in Kabwe that we should even feed the whole country. It doesn't matter. And when you feel like you want to relax, you'll be visiting your place where there's fish, you start fishing, you're relaxing. That is your place. And I call upon all the churches that are present here, and when you go back to your churches, start planning. All what you need is a 5,000 to prepare a fish pond, then a pond line which costs about 7,000, then we give you fingerlings, and also you start buying feeds little by little. You start harvesting your fish. So look into that as you are starting your projects in farmers, but we have got a land where we just want to be to this land, it is for fish farming. So this is the good news that I'm bringing for you, not only churches and also cooperative.
The evidence of the gospel is having the hands that give. It is on the platform of giving that salvation is wrought. And he that does not understand having long hands to give, does not understand the gift of the cross. And such a one is still in the next stage. Move from the next stage, get to the reformed stage, and your lives will never be the same.
Disability Rights Watch Program Coordinator Bruce Choma says there is need to come up with programs that will help persons with disabilities cope amidst climate change effects. Speaking to Camnet News, Mr. Choma says factors such as climate change have continued to increase vulnerability among persons with disabilities, hence the need to ensure that persons with disabilities have tailor-made programs to help them cope. Mr. Choma has therefore advised the Zambian government to take advantage of the high-level political dialogue in New York to take place from the 10th of July to the 19th of July 2023 to highlight progress and challenges in upholding rights of persons with disabilities in Zambia.
We think that with the coming of the high-level political dialogue in New York next month, Zambia should be able to be held accountable for the extent to which it is investing in social sectors that have a direct bearing on the lives of persons with disabilities. The focus, in our view, must also be on building resilience around the impacts of climate change and also ensuring that there is meaningful access to productive assets such as land for households of persons with disabilities. When it comes to social protection, we think that the social class transfer program has been a good program and that the amounts must be increased, but we also think that we must move towards having individual disability allowances for people with disabilities and not having household grants, because then the impact is reduced because their vulnerability levels are higher than ordinary households.
The Ministry of Agriculture in Siavonga district has engaged over 100 smallholder farmers who will receive 1,000 beehives for them to embark on honey production. Siavonga Acting Senior Agricultural Officer Kennedy Mwale says the honey production alternative livelihood intervention is supported by the United Nations Development Project, the Strengthening Climate Resilience of Agriculture, Livelihood and Agroecology Regions 1 and 2 SCRAL project. Mr. Mwale says the alternative livelihood of beekeeping has been scaled up by 5 agricultural camps in Solwezi, namely Matamvwa, Siamwinga, Bakasa, Changa and Simamba. He says that each of the 100 beneficiary farmers will receive 20 beehives to ensure increased honey production. And given Hambalangwe of Janga Agricultural Camp says he was trained by Scrala project in Mpongwe on how to produce honey. Details in the following report.
The Ministry of Agriculture in Siavonga district has engaged over 100 smallholder farmers who will receive 1,000 beehives for them to embark on honey production. Siavonga Acting Senior Agricultural Officer Kenneth Mwale says the honey production alternative livelihood intervention is supported by the United Nations program, supported project the Strengthening Climate Resilience of Agricultural Livelihoods in Agroecologic Regions 1 and 2.
We have a total number of 1,000 beehives. Then we have 100 beneficiaries. That's across 5 camps.
And given Hambalangwe of Changa camp had this to say.
Last year in the garden 4,000 in the Manauteura. This year, I think in the processing
This is Endless Kayungwa of Myombo Beekeeping Group.
Sunga nzimu kapena mabizi ni chintu chamene chinga titandize ngataikirako nzeru because ni mambiri bantu bamene bafuna honey. Honey has got a market, it has got demand.
Meanwhile, Siavonga District Agriculture Coordinator Anderson Mutinta explains how the beekeeping alternative livelihood will benefit the farmers.
Beekeeping is a low input enterprise. All you need is collection of bees, like if you have a beehive, they enter there. Not much input apart from just maintaining the environment.
Reporting, Lawrence Kabutu in Siavonga, Southern Province.
On that note, we break for some commercials, but still ahead we have international and sports news. Don't go away.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back, and now in international news, voters are expected to give former Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis' Conservative Party a second term in office, while Greeks re-elected the Conservative New Democratic government by the resounding majority in May. Mitsotakis refused to form a coalition government, triggering a second vote. In other international stories, many tourism Muslims are complaining that they can no longer afford to buy sheep for sacrifice, whereas consumption of traditional sweets has fallen as an economic crunch and a high price prevent customers from splashing out food ahead of the El Al-Adha of a feast of sacrifice, which begins on June 28th. Here is a roundup of international news.
Stability is the key word in this election. That is what New Democracy leader Kyriakos Mitsotakis says he seeks, and why he didn't try to form a government after claiming 41% of the first vote a month ago.
The voice of Athens resounds across Greece tonight. Let it also resound at the ballot box on Sunday. Only then will we end this 2-month election marathon with a result that will give the country a stable government, a new democracy government, a result that will give us the strength to implement our plan for a sovereign Greece.
Mitsotakis' problem in May was the electoral system voted in by the previous left-wing Syriza government, one of proportional representation. Parties divide up the chamber's 300 seats in proportion to their share of the vote. New Democracy has brought back Greece's predominant system, known as enhanced proportionality.
In May, Mitsotakis got just 145 seats, shy of the 151 he needed to govern on his own. If enhanced proportionality had been in place, he would have got 170 seats. So he held out for another election, when enhanced proportionality will apply.
Many people seem to agree with him.
I think it was right. I think that he wanted to have a majority so that he would be able to govern without having to do a coalition government. From what I have observed and what I've read about, he wanted to have stability in the government. And particularly, I think now with many different international events going on, I think having stability might actually make sense.
Proportional representation was wrong, and the parties that voted for it have admitted that. It's tiring the people out, and I don't think Greece is ready for it. It may never be, and it's expensive. Elections cost 300 million euros.
But there may also be a historical reason for Mitsotakis' decision. His father, Prime Minister Konstantin Mitsotakis, fought proportional representation through 3 election rounds to form a government without coalition partners.
When people want to vote for something, they'll vote for it, whatever the system. Look at Mitsotakis' father during the 1989 to 1990 elections. He also had to deal with proportional representation and ended up getting 47%. It's very difficult for an electoral system to stop the will of the people.
It appears the younger Mitsotakis doesn't want to take 18 months to rule on his own. By comparison, 2 months is relatively quick. John Psaropoulos, Al Jazeera, Athens.
Many Tunisian Muslims are complaining they can no longer afford buying sheep for sacrifice, whereas consumption of traditional sweets has fallen as an economic crunch and high prices prevent customers from splashing out on food ahead of Eid al-Adha, or a feast of sacrifice, which begins on June 28. We've asked the Mufti of the Republic to cancel this year's festival as there isn't enough production. Can only cover half the demand, given that we only have 650,000 sheep, not even 1.1 or 1.2 million sheep. In addition, prices are very high. Who should bear the responsibility for this? This year, like so many other consumer products, the price of sacrificial mutton has risen to at least $350, more than double the minimum wage in this Maghreb country. The price of sheep is between $500 and $200, and the very high cost of hay pushes up the prices of sheep considerably, which in turn impacts the consumer's purchasing power. Prices are a little more expensive this year, and people aren't in a position to pay, but we are trying to find lower prices. Tunisia, which is indebted to a tune of 80% of its GDP, obtained an agreement in principle from the International Monetary Fund (IMF) in October for a loan of nearly $2 billion, but discussions have since stalled due to lack of a firm commitment from the country to implement a reform program.
And finally, in sports news, Copper Queens captain Barbara Banda says her team has taken note of the mistakes made in the match played against Ireland and that the team is working to improve on their mistakes. Banda says the team played well in the match against Ireland, even if they lost by 3-2. She says the next encounter with Switzerland on the 30th of June 2023 will not be an easy one, but that the team is preparing adequately. The Copper Queens are currently in Germany in preparation for the Women's World Cup.
Training camp yenda sababu na wote pushina. Gema njenze sababu na despite tenze kona ma errors ku defense. Eza tenza se mbambiri makamaka kulife ma defender as in defender ma set pieces eza tenza kwambiri manini. Kwa bonda ku World Cup. Target ya timu kuwina na kusevenza challenge. Na mashwa ikache kulonga nevza tenza maningi. Kama na chetenzele pamoja na teamwork ndiye ingatitandize response. Ziko umopot supporter then mapitize tena support your if una have money kunaongeza chitangizo.
It is not a big issue, but it was just some minor injuries which are not bad. I'm happy that I'm back today, fit on the pitch. And looking at the game that we played against Ireland, I think it was a good game for us. Looking at Ireland is not a pushover team, but I think our play was awesome. The girls, looking at the itself, we dominated more in the first half, and we just had some errands on the second half, but well and good. The coaches have saw the mistakes, and I think this is what we are working on. Starting from yesterday's recovery, we've been talking about the game, and in today's game, we've been working on our mistakes that we made. Well, Switzerland also, it's a very good team, so we're expecting a tough game. So we are not relaxed, but we still want to push more and improve more. When you look at the game itself that we played, I think we improved in so many ways. The way we are playing, tactical discipline of the game. We played very well, and when it comes to communication, I think we had a very good communication with each other. Well, it is helping us a lot because looking at our team and where we are coming from, I think we are really happy to come to here. And all what I can say is we are really improving. To the fans is to keep on supporting us and surely deliver good results as we are going to the World Cup. It's a big tournament we are going in, so we just were asking for their support and encouragement.
On that note, we come to the end of our midday news, but before we go, let's have a look at the stories that made the headlines. Nakonde child abductor and 3 other convicts escape from custody. Eastern Province farmers demand for timely payments from FRA. In international news, Greece votes in parliamentary polls for second time in 5 weeks. And in sports news, Copper Queens ready for Switzerland. Now, before we go, let's have a look at the Camnet verse of the day, which comes from the book of Isaiah chapter 6, verses 1 to 2. And it says, "Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee." 2. "For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people, but the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee." That's it. That's all we had for the news at 12. Don't forget to join us for another bulletin at exactly 19:30 this evening. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is Marco Kwakozi. Have a blessed afternoon.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Rainglow, your smart irrigation partner.
The FAR's 2022-2023 season is over, and the 2023-2024 season is around the corner. Camnet Stars Football Club, popularly known as the local national team, is looking for young talented football players from across Zambia, aged between 16 and 23 years old. Camnet soccer trials will be held on the 30th of June and the 1st of July 2023 in Lusaka at 09 hours. The venue is Kabulonga Boys Secondary School grounds. Your skills could earn you a place in the world of soccer greats in Zambia and the world. Camnet Stars Football Club, the local national team, is a team born for greatness with visionary players. Let us join hands and contribute to high levels of Zambian football standards. Don't miss these trials. The future of Zambian soccer is dependent on you. Make a date with us. Remember, you are born for greatness. See you there.
Time! Camnet TV brings to you an exciting kid show called My Creation. Join me, Sarah Chandamagazagia, to interact with kids with special skills and talents between the age range of 9 to 17. This show will come to you every Saturday at 13:30 on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
It's another beautiful Monday. Welcome to to another interesting and very informative program. This one is called the Camnet Lunchtime Cafe. Now, this is a program that gives you news and other current affairs, matters that are happening right around about now around the country, and we also take you back in memory, just to refresh our memories. We take you back with some stories that happened some years back. And also, we give you an opportunity to talk to us by way of calling us or going to our Facebook page and leave us your comments there. We are going to be looking at what you think about what we look at on that particular day. So today we have very interesting stories that have come through, and also interesting stories that we have picked on our Forgotten Stories segment, where we'll be looking at stories to do with Chela Tukuta. Of course, this is the day that he was being transferred back to Lusaka from the Copper Belt, where he was appearing in court for some cases. And also we have another very interesting story about the UPND, talking about butane, which had been put to bed by this time last in 2020. But there were rumors that the UPND wanted, the Patriotic Front, the Routing Patriotic Front, then wanted to resurrect that particular story. And then the UPND were against that. We are going to be looking at that particular story also a little bit later on. And also a little later on, Patrick Soko will be here to try and analyze some of the stories that we are looking at today. And also we, as I already said, are going to be opening the phone lines for you to get in touch with us and talk to us as regards the stories that we are looking at this very beautiful Monday afternoon. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritties of the program, why don't we take a short break and be back shortly.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
Thank you very much. You are still watching the Lunchtime Cafe on Camnet TV, and we now get straight into our first segment, which is the Emerging Stories segment. Now, this is a segment that gives us news of what is happening right now. Our reporters are in the fields and are giving us some updates on what they are doing. Now we give you the stories that we feel are going to make the cut for the 1930 menus that will be aired right here on Camnet TV, on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and on Topstar we are on 105. Those are the platforms you can catch us on if you want to watch our live news at 1930 hours. Remember also that we stream live on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV, and also our YouTube channel, which is also Camnet TV. So those are the platforms if you want to catch our live programs on Camnet TV. Those are the platforms that you can catch. Now let's go straight into the Emerging Stories segment. The first story that we have Citizens Environment and Social Concern, CESCO Executive Director Colonel Hagapia has challenged the government to make sure that extended producer responsibility regulation is revised in order to effectively manage plastic pollution. Now, on the 31st of May 2023, Minister of Green Economy and Environment Collins Nzovu disclosed that they have embarked on a robust process of review legal framework, which includes, among others, policies, acts and strategies. And Mr. Hagapia has challenged the government to make sure that plastic manufacturers pay for their waste.
After climate change is plastic pollution, and that in itself, as a country, Zambia, we are not committed to ending plastic pollution as a country. If we were committed to ending plastic pollution as a country, we would have taken measures that are not rhetoric, measures that are serious, and measures that show results. These measures that we have taken to try and mitigate plastic pollution in our country are all rhetoric. Hence, we have not seen any tangible results. And our cities, our compounds, our CBD will continue to be dirty. Our drainages and waterways will continue to be clogged because of the lack of seriousness and commitment to end plastic pollution in our country. We have an SI, the famous SI number 65 of 2018, that is in our own view, it's a cake, okay, and it's toothless. Hence, people manufacture, produce, and distribute plastic that is not meeting the same threshold, or that is 30 microns of thickness of plastic. Everywhere sold and distributed with impunity. Nobody is prosecuted. Nobody is charged for it, and it's business as usual. And also this plastic that is distributed and sold in supermarkets. It's supposed to be an extended producer responsibility, but unfortunately, it has only extended the consumers' pockets by buying those plastic bags from these big retail stores that have profited from the extended producer responsibility regulations number 16 of 2018. Okay, they are the ones who've benefited. The environment has not benefited. The general public has not benefited. It's just the business houses, especially the big shopping that have benefited. And what have they done?
So that is a story that we expect to make a cut on our 1930 menus. Remember that our news comes at exactly 1930, and we are broadcast to you live on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and channel 106 on a Top Star. So you can get that particular story on any of those platforms today at 1930. Now moving on, we are still on the emerging stories, and the other one says Care for Nature Zambia has held President Hakainde Hichilema and the government for restructuring Zambia's debt. Now, Care for Nature Zambia says this will give the country an opportunity to invest in other developmental programs. Let's have a look at this.
Care for Nature Zambia would like to congratulate the President of Zambia, His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, and the government for restructuring Zambia's debt. This will give the country an opportunity to invest in other development sectors, as the restructuring leaves room for paying off the debt at lower interest rate. It is very critical at this time for members of parliament, mayors, council chairpersons, and councillors to get involved in explaining such development to the people in their constituencies and wards, because this restructuring also comes with responsibility for us citizens to be productive and contribute to the country's GDP to avoid further borrowing. All persons in leadership positions, whether in the ruling government or opposition political parties, have a responsibility to implement the National Development Plan, because it is the roadmap that leads to our Vision 2030 of becoming a prosperous middle-income country. When the country is headed in the right direction, everyone needs to know, and this can only happen when information trickles down to local communities. People from rural areas need to be availed with factual and accurate information so that they also feel part of this development. Lastly, it is very important that as citizens, we get involved in offering checks and balances so that the country does not fall into another debt situation as it were before, but also take responsibility and use prevailing opportunities through various development and empowerment programs to become self-reliant and less dependent on government and donor aid.
So that's another story that we expect to make the cut on our 1930 main news tonight. It is a story talking about the debt restructuring, and of course Care for Nature Zambia thinks that this will help the country to take resources to other developmental sectors since the debt has been restructured. So we expect that particular story to be in our main news, and our reporters are working on it to make sure that it is a fully baked story by the time it's 1930 hours, so that you can have the details of that particular story. So this is the Camnet lunchtime cafe, where we give you nothing but what is happening in the world of news and current affairs, and of course not forgetting entertainment and sports on this particular program. So we are now going to take another short break, but when we come back we are going to be getting into the Forgotten Stories segment.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We are now on a segment that we call the Forgotten Stories segment. Now on this particular segment we bring stories that happened some years back, just to refresh your memories on what was happening those years and what is happening now, what is has happened, what is new as regards some of those stories that we aired in those particular years. And the first story on our Forgotten Stories segment in 2021, the then opposition UPND threatened to seek legal redress if the ruling Patriotic Front insisted on going ahead with the resurrection of Bill 10, which had been rejected. Let's have a look at this.
Zambia's biggest opposition political party, the United Party for National Development, UPND, has threatened to seek legal redress if the ruling Patriotic Front insists on going ahead with what UPND calls as the illegality of trying to resurrect the controversial Bill number 10. The bill, which was buried on the 4th of June 2020, after 20 days later, the Patriotic Front wanted to resurrect the bill. UPND says that it is unattainable. UPND Choma Central Member of Parliament Cornelius Moetwa says there is no shame in admitting that time to talk about the controversial bill has lapsed. Addressing the media at the UPND Secretariat in Lusaka, the Member of Parliament says Bill number 10 lapsed and the only way it can be brought back is 6 months after the lapsing. As he says, right now there is no law that gives permission to try and bring back to life a bill that is dead.
That Bill 10 lapsed on the 4th of June. What is the contestation therefore presently? The contestation is about the power of the Standing Orders Committee. Sitting 20 days after Bill 10 lapsed, as to whether they do have that power in terms of Section 149 of the Standing Orders of Parliament, and if they do have such power, if it is exercisable to extend a life of a being that had lapsed or died 20 days before. And we believe that if they insist to pander on this trajectory, we may be left with no option but to seek legal redress for interpretation before the right forums.
25th of June, Government Chief Whip Brian Mundu will address the media, clarifying why the dead bill should be brought back to life.
However, at the time it lapsed, the House was still on recess, and had it not been for the premature adjournment in the February-March meeting, the second reading stage could have been probably concluded in one way or another.
And now UPND Choma Central Member of Parliament Cornelius Mwetwa says that argument does not hold water.
Now, there is an argument which has been put to suggest that the Standing Orders Committee could not sit to extend the life of Bill 10 because Parliament was on recess. We hold the contrary view that such an argument does not hold water.
Constance Member reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Now, in the same year, on this day, popular photographer who was in police custody for criminal libel was transferred to Lusaka from Ndola. Now, this sparked outrage on social media that Chela Tukota had been rearrested, but police did give a statement to reassure the citizens that it was not a rearrest.
About Police Commissioner Charity Katanga has told Camnet TV Zambian photographer Chela Tukuta has not been rearrested but only handed over to Lusaka police so he can be able to appear in court, as he has been granted bail from the court in Ndola. News flooded social media. Zambia's famous photographer has been rearrested after released, and a few minutes later the photographer was able to post on his Facebook page with writings reading, "The struggle for a better Zambia continues." The photographer has been transferred back to Lusaka where he has to appear in court. Copperbelt Police Commissioner Charity Katanga gives you more details.
The position on our part, as you know, sometime last week, that person was being investigated by Lusaka police. After that, he was transferred here because we had the 6 other cases pending on the Copper Belt. So he was arrested and charged. Then today in the morning, he appeared in the Ndola Magistrates Court before Honorable Bar on 4 counts, 3 on publishing defamatory remarks, that is the criminal liable one. Then 1, threatening violence. Then the other one was expressing or showing hatred, ridicule, contempt for persons because of race, tribe, place of origin, and color. He pleaded not guilty and was granted bail to the tune of 5,000 in his own recognizance. His 2 working sureties who are dollar-based in like amounts. He was remanded in custody and will appear in court on 10th July 2020 for mention and 15th July 2020 for commencement of trial. He pleaded not guilty to the 3 charges, and the 4th one he will be tried by the High Court. So after that, he managed to clear the bail conditions, and he was released. However, before he could go, Lusaka was still waiting for him for the other charges he was facing. So has been handed over. Here, those cases have been cleared by police and we wait for the jurisdiction to deal with them. No arrest has been done. It's just a matter of handing it over to where is required for further investigation.
Constance Mwemba reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
So that is a story that we got from 2020. Now moving on to 2021, the UPND Alliance appealed to the Electoral Commission of Zambia to reverse its decision to cancel the Lusaka Central Constituency parliamentary elections following the withdrawal of one of the candidates. Let's have a look at this.
The opposition UPND Alliance has appealed to the Electoral Commission of Zambia to reverse its decision of cancelling the Lusaka Central Constituency parliamentary election following the withdrawal of an independent candidate, Charity Lumpa. The opposition has since threatened to seek judicial review against the commission over its decision.
We want to state that the Electoral Commission of Zambia must be able to read or have a proper meaning of the constitutional provisions in this regard. Myself, I'm a layman. What I know in my simple language is that withdrawal is not the same as resignation. Doesn't matter who was your teacher in English. Simple language, withdrawal cannot be equal, is not the same as the resignation.
The Electoral Commission of Zambia announced the cancellation of elections and called for fresh nomination in Mandevu, Lusaka Central, Mpulungu parliamentary constituencies following the death and withdrawals of some candidates, citing Article 52(6) of the Republican Constitution, amended number 2 of 2016. But UPND Lusaka Central constituency aspiring candidate Mulambo Haimbe, who is also a renowned lawyer, has since written to the commission demanding the reverse of the decision, which he claims is not supported by the law.
So-called decision by the ECZ, we reiterate, is unlawful and is not supported by the law. And the basis upon which we say that is because, to start with, the Constitution itself is very clear on what amounts to a resignation and so on and so forth. Certainly, an independent candidate deciding not to continue with an election does not amount to withdrawal as envisaged by the law, or it does not amount to resignation as envisaged by the law. More importantly, in Section 31 of the Electoral Process Act number 35 of 2016, the provisions relating sticking to their position. Now, this, of course, means that taking out legal proceedings is as a matter of last resort. The law must be defended and protected, and illegality must not be allowed to continue. Because if that is the case, then we are setting a precedence. We are legitimizing illegal actions by a commission that is supposed to be independent and impartial. So, today it will be Lusaka Central. Tomorrow it will be another constituency. And let alone it could be at a much higher level.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Thank you very much. So that is a story that we have gotten from the 2021 basket. But moving on in the same year, and the Council of Churches in Zambia took the fight against corruption, against political violence rather, to Solwezi district, where political parties were made to sign a peace charter. Here's a report.
Friday, 25th June 2021, the Council of Churches in Zambia took the fight against political violence to Solwezi district, where they convened a youth against political violence meeting. During the meeting, Political parties were made to sign a non-violence and peace charter that looks at clauses in ensuring peace and non-violence election under the umbrella of CCZ. Two of Zambia's biggest political parties, that is the Patriotic Front PF and the United Party for National Development UPND, were in attendance to sign the peace charter. And speaking at the event, CCZ Secretary General Father Emmanuel Chikoya has wondered why violence has continued in a Christian nation.
Elections are becoming very bloody. When there are no elections, we stay together, we live together. But what goes on the moment we have elections? The same neighbors. But suddenly we've become enemies. No, something is wrong. We are missing and losing our humanity. But let's not lose our sensitivity to care for one another. Refuse to be a youth for hire as a tool of violence. You reap what you sow.
If we can be sending messages of peace on social media platforms, the exchange of messages of peace to one another, I think in that way we'll be heading to peace building and conflict transformation.
And Frederick Helbert Steve Tank's Social Impact and Social Justice Programs Manager Vincent Chipatuka says he is excited to associate himself with the activity because it stands for equity and social justice, among others.
So the Frederick Ebert Stiftung is very excited to associate itself with this activity because we stand for solidarity, we stand for equality, we stand for social justice, we stand for unity, we stand for peace. And if we have this, all the above will not be in existence.
And PF District Chairman Godwin Mubanga and UPND Provincial Secretariat Office Administrator Joshua Mukai highlighted some of the measures put in place to avoid violence during campaigns.
We have made sure that we have attended all the seminars that have been called, so that we learn. I'm sure you have taught us, you have collected us. If we had the thoughts that we want to cause violence, but you have collected us and we're not going to do that. If we had any intention of killing each other, beating each other, we were not going to do that because we have learned about peace, unity, and election free as we enter into an election.
One of the measures actually the PF is doing, and we have heard it from His Excellency, the President, is to make sure that we teach, we are taught, so we are taught about the gospel. Politics is not the end of life. On 12 August, that's not the end of life. You know, other people die because of Rimbinamuru Salama pressures. There is life after 12 August.
With 46 days before the general elections, Zambians have time to reflect on what they want their next 5 years to look like. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
That was our forgotten news segment where we bring to you stories that happened in the years that are gone, just to refresh your memories and make you see where we have come from and where we are at the moment. So today we were looking at a story of where the opposition, then opposition UPND, had threatened to seek legal redress following UPND's intentions to revive the Bill 10. And also we did look at a story of how Taylor Tukuta, the then popular photographer, was being transferred from Sorindola to Lusaka, and people were thinking it is a rearrest, and police cleared that. And also we did look at another story where the UPND Alliance had appealed to the Electoral Commission of Zambia to ensure that they do not cancel the 2021 parliamentary election for Lusaka Central constituency after one of the candidates had pulled out of the race. And also in 2021 we looked at a story where the Council of Churches took the fight against political violence. This is the time when political violence was very, very, very pronounced. So they took the fight to Solwezi, where they went to speak to political parties there, and the political parties were made to sign a peace charter that ensured that they did do their campaigns from that particular day onwards very peacefully without any violence. So they had to sign to that particular charter, and that is what the CCZ was doing to try and fight political violence. So that was our Forgotten Stories segment, and remember that you can also give us your thought on some of these stories that we are looking at today by just going to our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV. Go to this particular broadcast because this is live on our Facebook page. Go to the comment section on that particular broadcast and then leave your comments there. We'll be more than happy to see what you think about what we are looking at today. You can alternatively call us on the numbers that will be given to you a little later on the program. You can call us and you can give us your live feedback as regards the stories we are looking at. And also we are going to be giving you a number that is strictly for a WhatsApp messages or voice notes, or if you can, videos. You can get a video of yourself giving your thought on what we are looking at on this particular program, and then send it to the number that will be given to you, and then we'll be more than happy to see what you think about what we are discussing. We're now getting into the next segment, which is the very segment I was talking about, which gives you an opportunity to talk to us, an opportunity to give us your thoughts on what we are discussing. But we will do that shortly after this break.
The FARS 2022-2023 season is over, and the 2023-2024 season is around the corner. Camnet Stars Football Club, popularly known as the local national team, is looking for young talented football players from across Zambia, aged between 16 and 23 years old. Camnet soccer trials will be held on the 30th of June and the 1st of July 2023 in Lusaka at 09 hours. The venue is Kabulonga Boys Secondary School grounds. Your skills could earn you a place in the world of soccer greats in Zambia and the world. Camnet Stars Football Club, the local national team, is a team born for greatness with visionary players. Let us join hands and contribute to high levels of Zambian football standards. Don't miss these trials. The future of Zambian soccer is dependent on you. Make a date with us. Remember, you are born for greatness. See you there.
Join me, Amazing Katamanda, on the weekly gospel show for those exciting and interesting interviews with your favorite gospel Hold on to me when it's too dark to see. You cannot put your power through. Hallelujah. And this time around, we are bringing to you entertainment news and the countdown, as you guys are able to nominate your top 3 favorite music videos of the week. Remember, it's every Saturday at 10:45. You can also catch repeats every Monday at 10 hours. Camnet TV is not just another time.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
Thank you very much. You are still watching the Lunchtime Cafe on Camnet TV. And this is the segment now that gives you an opportunity to give us your thoughts on what we are discussing on this particular program, the stories that we are looking at on this particular program. Now, on this segment, I love it because this is the segment when Patrick Soko joins me to try and dissect the stories that we have and try and get his thoughts on some of the stories that we are featuring on this particular day. But today, we want to advise that you can call us on the numbers that are on the bottom of your screens for your live calls. Just dial those particular numbers and we are more than ready to take in your calls. And also remember that you can go to our Facebook page and leave your comments there. It is Camnet TV on Facebook. And then you go to this particular broadcast because it's live on Facebook, and then leave your comments there. You can also catch us on our YouTube channel, which is Camnet TV as well. We are broadcasting live on that particular channel on YouTube. Patrick Soko is here, as I did said earlier. Patrick, thank you very much for making it. Welcome to the Lunchtime Cafe.
The pleasure is always mine to be part of this wonderful program as a resident analyst.
Now, Patrick, interestingly, we have very interesting stories coming in from 2020 and 2021, and of course, stories coming in on our Emerging Stories segment. I know that you would love to speak on each and every story that we have, but I want to take it slow with you about the stories that are emerging, that are coming in our news tonight. What is your brief idea of what we expect in our 19 hours menus, considering the fact that here we are talking about citizens, environment and social concern, and also Care for Nature Zambia. Care for Nature talking about the debt restructuring, and citizens, environment talking about issues to do with climate change.
Interesting. So those are just but the many stories that we're going to have as the day progresses, especially pertaining to our menus at 1930. Interesting enough, that the story is pertaining to Care for Nature. This is a story where they are happy that Zambia managed to get closure or finalize the debt restructuring process. This has been protracted for a long time. You and I, because we have been speaking about this data restructuring for a long time, even on other programs like the Breakfast Show, we've been able to analyze this, especially when we look at the money markets and we look at the fundamentals that were undermining the local economy. So debt is one such animal which President Hichilema referred to as a python that was choking the country by the neck. And this has been, the python has let its grip now, where Zambia is able to breathe. But this this sigh of relief causing is not an arrangement like was the case during the time the late Manawasa was the president, when we were forgiven most of our debt. This time around, we have to pay our debt. The only difference that it has been rescheduled, and there are some conditions that have been readjusted in line with the problems that Zambia is facing at the moment. So, looking at this story, it has excited quite a number of stakeholders. And Care for Nature is just but the many organizations that are expressing gratitude or happiness for this gesture. Interesting enough, we are looking at this, much as it brings a lot of relief, there has been quite a number of analyses that have been made pertaining to this debt restructuring. So pertaining to debt, we are going to have to be on this story, I think, for the rest of this month, and part of July, we are going to be talking about this debt that was restructured, because it's a topical and very important subject for Zambia. So now, why am I saying so? There is another interesting aspect that comes into being, in that others say, while we may be excited for this state, it is not a guarantee that we are going to have everything at ease. This same debt restructuring may also spell doom and may spell progress. This is because other analysts also allude to the fact that the data that has been that has been restructured, the people who are also assisting us. If you see, the structuring of this data has also mean that Zambia will get another funding from the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Now, what that means is that is also still debt, because we are getting from the IMF. It does not mean that just because we're getting from the IMF, that is not debt. We have to pay back, but the only difference is that it is a flexible debt. But again, other analysts argue that the same International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, they do not mean well for countries that are affected by poverty, because their programs do not help them to combat poverty effectively, but rather to perpetuate their begging spree and continue to be on the begging trajectory, in that the conditions make it difficult for economies to thrive. For example, we are talking about the removal of subsidies, COSI. That also undermines the fight against poverty and promoting equality in the country. Let's say, for instance, the recent developments pertaining to the energy sector. These are the result of the International Monetary Fund program, where we are seeing ZESCO making those adjustments to increase the tariffs. Now, what that means is that others may still not be able to afford electricity. And it means that especially the rural parts of the country, seeing the progress may take long them to see a bulb, because probably we are seeing that for those people, for us to be able to accommodate them in terms of the rural electrification program, it may not be now. So, and as a result, those people continue to live in the poverty cycle. But you know, there are other reforms which the IMF recommends, because the removing of fuel subsidies, you and I are privy to how the removal of subsidies has affected many people. Others would tell you to say they are no longer getting on buses to go to town or for work or to go for their businesses, but they are commuting or walking rather from home to the central business district to do their businesses, because transport they cannot afford. So this tends to continue to perpetuate a poverty cycle. So those people cannot progress from one stage of life to the other. Equally, if you look at those people who are working, their salaries, most of them have been stagnant. So now, if you have a stagnant salary and you have conditions like where you are seeing that a fluctuating price of fuel, it may also mean that, for example, instead of the limited money you earn, you are now spending more when you are using it for transport. So as a result, it gets into your income, but your income has been stagnant. It hasn't been increasing in tandem with the cost of living. And if you look at the cost of living as measured by the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections, JCTR, it indicates that for a family of 5 living in a city like Lusaka, the cost of living is ranging in the beyond 9,000. And that's quite an exorbitant money if you look at that cause. Hence, that tends to perpetuate the challenges people continue to face. So you can only survive to a hand-to-mouth arrangement or a consumption arrangement. You cannot even invest in a small business for a poultry business or do one or two things. So those are some of the limitations. But still, there's also hope, because this is we have a government in place. And this government has to continuously look at what avenues or opportunities can we create for the people to be able to sustain their livelihoods. So that's why we see, for example, that currently we are implementing the Constituency Development Fund. There's some people who have been able to undertake some businesses and be able to be sustainable, while compared to the past when they could not access this fund. So some of the people have been cushioned, and that's why the government is also implementing programs like the social cash transfer program. But these programs are the programs that need to be enhanced for many people to benefit, because if you look at the social cash transfer program, it's an effective tool towards eradicating poverty in that the old, the elderly, persons with disabilities, other vulnerable households are able to benefit from such a program which the government is implementing. We understand that it was increased under the UPND in terms of the threshold, also the number of beneficiaries, but there's still more needs to be done, especially as people, we were talking to the Disability Rights Watch last week. They were indicating that they would also want this, for instance, to increase to in terms of the resources, to increase to a tune of at least 800 kwacha. Now, they were also talking about increasing the number of beneficiaries. So as we talk about social spending, this is in the context of the national budget. So now we also have to continue to expand such programs like the social cash transfer program, if people are to benefit and to be able to be cushioned in the midst of these challenges. What this debt relief has done is also to just give us a breathing space to be able to undertake some of the programs while we are creating the necessary capital to pay back. So now what is key for me is that stands out is industrialization, because there's no substitute to industrialization. There's nothing. There's no way you can be able to pay back the loan if you're not able to generate sufficient funds to be able to pay back. So now we have to build the internal capacity. If we do that, Cozy, well, we'll be smiling. But we would also want to get the views of the people on these sub matters, and just giving a perspective based on the people we have interviewed and talked to. We are also going to have the Policy Monitoring and Research Institute in the news at 1930. They are going to be talking about issues pertaining to the debt restructuring. What does this mean for Zambia? So the researchers there will be explaining and unpacking that story, and that's in our main news. So that's one of the stories we are looking at. They are also looking at another story pertaining to the cyber space. We are seeing that the Zambian government is giving leeway to these companies to set up internet provision, and others are setting up internet provision at a wider range. But there has been a lot of concern to say we have to be careful, because these internet issues, others can be using them for spying purposes. But how are we making sure that we are protected against such maneuvers or interventions? So those are issues that our security technology experts are giving out Cozy pertaining to that. We also are going to have stories pertaining to Kanyama, where there are concerns pertaining to roads, Cozy. The roads in Kanyama are bad, and that people are fearful that the situation, just as it was during the 2022-2023 rainy season, because the roads become impassable, and that businesses are affected, and that because the roads have no drainages, as a result, they are really affected. So Kanyama is one such places, just like other localities we have in Lusaka that have problems pertaining to roads. So now people are questioning how the CDF is being utilized, if at all they are able to make sure that some of the resources go towards working to on the roads to be able, so that people can be assisted ahead of the 2023-2024 rainy season.
So you can also give us your thought as regards the stories that we are looking at on this particular program. This is the Lunchtime Cafe, and it comes to you every Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, right here on channel 274 on DSTV, and channel 25 on GoTV, and channel 106 on Top Star. Now you can also call us on 0973 7840. That's 0973 167840. The number is there down your screens. You can call that particular number and give us your thought as regards what we are discussing on this particular program, the stories that we are looking at on this particular program. Now, Patrick, you did talk about the benefits really of this debt restructuring, but we have heard some sectors of society that are saying there's nothing to celebrate about this particular debt restructuring. It is not that the debt has been cancelled.
Yeah. So in terms of that school of thought, I can give you a background and to why people are saying so, because there's no proper justification to us forwarding the burden of debt to the future generation. I hope you understand what I mean.
Sure.
It means that Junior Kokwa is going to be paying that debt. Junior Soko will be paying that debt. They'll be paying that debt through taxes, like we were doing. So now, so that's why people are saying there's nothing to celebrate, because it's not it's not like that we have been forgiven. Ultimately, we have to pay back. So give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. What belongs to Caesar is still the tagline here.
But those concerns genuine, considering the fact that the country has been given room to breathe, at least. You did say that this is a huge python that is strangling the country by its neck. We've been given a little bit of room to maneuver, but the python has not gone away. It's still somewhere around.
Moving around, yes, you were right when we were describing a python. So the python is around, so it may grip again. But the python may also get a grip in twofold. Look, we have also the UPND, mind you, where they are also contracting new debt because they are getting new debt as we are talking. If you look at the 2023 national budget and the first quarter analysis by Finance Minister Stombeko Msogotwane did admit that they are getting new debt. They have gotten quite substantial, huge debt. I just couldn't recall the figures, but I was privy to that meeting, and I was the person to ask the minister to say, you said that you criticized the UPND that they were not the PF then, that they were going to they were borrowing unsustainably, and you discouraged them from doing so. But what are you doing yourself? Then he said, unlike the PF, the UPND is borrowing with a strategy. So they have a debt sustainability strategy which they are following to make sure that we do not land where we were, like where the PF left us in terms of that burden. So the minister did assure the country that they are putting in place measures to ensure that whatever new debt they are getting is sustainably managed, unlike in the past when we had that challenge. So if you look, Kokwa, we are going to give them the benefit of that based on that, since they have it under control. But that debt, the debt we are contracting now, and the debt which has been pushed forward in terms of us repaying, that has been restructured, all that debt is part of the debt we need to be solving as a country. But how do we solve that debt? I think it's a question that the UPND administration has to be answering up to the time the payments are due. They have to continuously find solutions to. So when those people, the other people you're talking about, Kozi, who are talking about there's nothing to celebrate about. Those sentiments are needed by this government. Those people saying the debt cancellation, the debt restructuring, there's nothing to celebrate. Those sentiments are needed to this administration. They need to be reminded that the python may have gave us a room to breathe, but it may still grip. You understand?
Sure.
And because time never stops. Soon, as we are talking, will be in 2026. The UPND may be continuing. The UPND may be out of office. Whoever inherits the debt, if it is the UPND continuing the debt, they have to still solve this puzzle. But but how do we reach these unsustainable levels? It goes to accountability mechanisms we have in this country. Are they sufficient enough? Those are questions we need to be answering. So we were making sure that there were provisions that whenever we are contracting new debt, it should be subjected before Parliament. But some of the debt is being contracted without parliamentary approval. And we also have to, there has been suggestion that we should have a limit to say we can only borrow to this extent and no more if we reach this threshold. You understand? Now, but what are we doing to put in those to put in place those measures? Those are questions we need to continue to answer as a country. Because at the end of the day, if you look at 2044, most of the people want to be here. Even those who are serving in government, they won't be here. They won't be in those offices. Let's give, for example, our Republican president and the vice president. They would have served their 2 terms. But he is the architect, and the person behind the restructuring is the one who knows it better, probably, than anybody else who's going to come and inherit it. Our current finance minister, Stombeko Msogotwane, knows it better than the person who is going to come. For instance, if we have guarantees that, for instance, we are going to sort out our debt issues in the next 10 years, even better. But if we are going to say, no, it's okay, we can relax, we're going to sort it out, or leave the burden to someone who comes and takes over to say, sort out the debt issues. Because I think that's what happened under the PF. because the PF borrowed. But who has been struggling to restructure this debt? It is this administration. You understand?
Sure.
You and I, Kozi, have been behind the computers for a long time enough, and we remember doing stories on civil society organizations advising the government, the PF government then, to say the borrowing also Zambia is you are borrowing unsustainably. We had those stories, if you remember.
Sure.
And the current president used to say, you should leave room. There is no debt ceiling.
Yes.
You remember. But they kept on borrowing, and I remember, for instance, under it should be the late Alexander, is it?
ABC.
Yes. He used to say, we have it under control. We are managing this state. But look at where we landed. Look at where we landed. This is the same problems. Now, how do we avoid another debt burden or a debt trap? How do we avoid? The traps are there, causing, because those who want to lend us money, they are there.
Sure.
They're just saying, here's the money. But behind the money, there's also a python there. If you get more money, then the python chokes you. Interesting. Yeah.
You can also give us your thoughts on what we are looking at on this particular program by calling us on 0973167840. That's the number you can call us on. You can alternatively send your messages to 09624444726. Send your WhatsApp messages, your WhatsApp voice notes, or your WhatsApp videos to that particular line. Now, when we say WhatsApp videos, we mean you capture yourself a video talking about what we are discussing here, and then you can share that particular video to that particular number, and we'll be more than happy to have a look at what you think about what we are discussing on this beautiful Monday afternoon. We do have our resident analyst, Patrick Soko, who is giving us his thoughts on some of the stories that we are looking at this particular afternoon. But you can also do that by calling the numbers that are on the bottom of your screens, which is 0973 167840. That's the number you can dial if you want to get in touch with us and give us those particular thoughts. Now, apart from the emerging stories that we have been looking at, we also did look at some stories that happened in 2020 and of course in 2021, and we did look at a story of the opposition, UPND, threatening to seek legal redress following the then ruling Patriotic Front's decision to try and resurrect the Bill 10, which by then had been rejected and buried. And also there was another story where we did talk about Chela Tukuta, who was arrested for criminal libel, if you remember that story very well, and now he was being moved from Ndola back to Lusaka, and people were saying no, he has been rearrested, and the police came in to just give clarity on that particular story. In 2021, on this very day also, we did have an interesting story when the UPND had appealed to the ECZ not to cancel the Lusaka Central constituency parliamentary election because one of the candidates had pulled out of that particular race. And also we did have another story where the Council of Churches was trying to make its effort also to make sure that the political violence that was escalating at that point in 2021 was brought down, and people were educated on the effects of political violence and stuff like that. They had traveled to Solwezi then to go and speak to people in Solwezi, and they did make the political parties that were participating in that particular meeting to sign a peace charter that ensured that people were going to be campaigning peacefully now without any violence. Now, those are some of the stories that we picked from our forgotten stories basket.
Yeah, quite interesting stories there. I remember July then was a peak season for the election.
Sure.
We were just remaining with a few days. A few days to the general election that was in August. That's June, July. And the forgotten stories there. it's good that they remind us of where we're coming from and how tense the situation was pertaining to the political fraternity. And it gets to tell you, and we can now connect and relate to things that are happening at the moment. For instance, GEAR's initiative as of yesterday, should have been yesterday or the day before yesterday, we were talking about that the matter was subjected to the constitutional court, where if an independent candidate withdraws from the race, there's no need to conduct fresh nominations. So that has been qualified by the courts, and we are getting closure. And that was the story which the UPND were talking about, appealing to the ECZ to make sure that they do not call for fresh nominations when that was Charlie Tirumba withdrew from the race to Mandai. So now we see that it is so. This segment is a reminder, cause really, and it really gives me a lot of interest because it brings out things that we do forget as the journalists, as the media, in terms of following up stories that you need us to engage authorities. And this is one such story that we got closure on. This story has been winded up because now they have ruled that it is no longer necessary that an independent withdraws from the race and we should call for fresh nomination, because an independent is not withdrawing from any political party. It's just withdrawing on his own accord, his or our own accord. So there is no need to call for fresh nominations. And that was quite an interesting story there that we saw. And like you say, prior to the elections, we saw that a number of stories were aimed at discouraging political violence. And the Council of Churches there, led by Father Chikwaya, he was also the leader of the Christians Churches Monitoring Group, CCMG. And we do hear, we heard when they were talking about issues pertaining to violence and reminding citizens to be cognizant that there's only one Zambia and that there's life beyond the August 12, 2021 general elections. So people were being advised, and truly, most of the time Zambians were restrained in terms of violence. A few pockets of violence were recorded during the elections, but it wasn't as worse as it is like in other countries. So, and we just urge civil society organizations, the church, to continue playing that role, because at the end of the day, Zambia has always been identified as a beacon of peace. So if we are going to uphold that legacy, we need to make sure that we continue to do things that put us in the right context as a beacon of peace. And that's making sure that we continue to preserve the peace that we enjoy and ensure that there is political violence is addressed, because at the end of the day, violence that Zambia may witness, at the end of the day, most of it comes through a political intolerance. So we saw that, for instance, previously under the previous administration, even starting from UNIP, a movement for multi-party democracy, MMD, even under the PF, incidents of violence, we have continuously been recording them. So, but the UPND has an opportunity to continue to speak against violence, just like President Ichilema has been doing every time he's given a platform to discourage political violence and make sure that public facilities like markets and bus stations are conducive for everyone to trade in, and that acts of violence must not be condoned, and that the law enforcement wings have been given the mandate to just make sure that they curb acts of lawlessness.
So that is about the Forgotten Stories segment, where we did look at some of those stories that Patrick is talking about and trying to dissect and trying to give his thoughts on those particular stories. But we are now open for you to give us your thoughts also. You can call us on the numbers that are on your screens, and the further one, the 0962 444 726, is for WhatsApp messages only. So you can send your voice note on that particular number, you can send your video on that particular number, and you can also send your message on that particular number that is just strictly for WhatsApp. You can call us on the other numbers, 0973167840 and the 09686755 273. That's the other number that you can call us on if you want to give us your thought on what we are discussing this beautiful afternoon. And also remember that we are live on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV. You can go to that particular page and go to the comments section of this particular podcast and leave your comments there. We'll be more than happy to see what you think and what is your contribution to this particular program as regards the topics that we are looking at this very day, the stories that we are looking at on this very day. Patrick.
Yeah, so right now we're just going to take a short breather, then when we're back, we'll continue interacting on the viewers' reaction. Keep it on Camnet TV.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
The FARS 2022-2023 season is over and the 2023-2024 season is around the corner. Camnet Stars Football Club, popularly known as the local national team, is looking for young talented football players from across Zambia, aged between 16 and 23 years old. Camnet soccer trials will be held on the 30th of June and the 1st of July 2023 in Lusaka at 09 hours. The venue is Kabulonga Boys Secondary School grounds. Your skills could earn you a place in the world of soccer greats in Zambia and the world. Camnet Stars Football Club, the local national team, is a team born for greatness with visionary players. Let us join hands and contribute to high levels of Zambian football standards. Don't miss these trials. The future of Zambian soccer is dependent on you. Make a date with us. Remember, you are born for greatness. See you there.
Akora kansheko alakula chancha mukero kula chekerera ucho mwana nani nanga naba butuka uwinge wo munanga tikasambe nani ingata mwishire pekeni tuliposhe bana fia sasa ushe umwana nani na ingana naba butuka uwinge wo munanga tikasambe nani mwe ipisha ina ipisha nyabo mwikere nabo.
You are still watching the Lunchtime Cafe on Camnet TV, and we are now taking in your calls to give us your thoughts on what we are discussing this very day. But there is a breaking story that we have just received, and it says Daliso, son of former President Edgar Lungu, has been arrested and is detained at Woodlands Police Station. Patrick.
Yeah, that's another story that we have just received, and we are yet to confirm with the Zambia police. But what we have this afternoon is that the son to former President Edgar Lungu, Daliso Lungu, has been arrested and is detained at Woodlands Police Station, the famous Woodlands Police Station. It's a political police station, you know, where most politicians and business people are taken to that police station. So we are going to be following up that story, and that's among the stories that you are likely to expect in the main news on Camnet TV. So now the story there, I think he has been summoned by law investigative wings several times, because in terms of appearing, he has been questioned in relation to having property suspected to be proceeds of crimes. So I think even the arrest that has been made by the Zambia police is in connection with that the very issue, because it is not the first time he has been summoned by the police or the joint investigative team, which comprises various investigative wings, which include but not limited to the Anti-Corruption Commission, the Drug Enforcement Commission, the Financial Intelligence Center, the Zambia Police, among other entities that are part of that wing. And you and I were talking about last week on this platform, where the PF Acting Media Director Edwin Ifekero was indicating that most of their members were targeted for arrests. And we are seeing that most of the PF members are still targeted for arrests. And one of the expected people to be arrested was the former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo and 2 former defense ministers in the name of GBM, Geoffrey Boyamwamba, as well as Davis Chama. So these 2 served in the defense ministry, and they were among the people whom were informed that they are likely to be arrested. For Mr. Kampyongo, it was in connection with the gassing. If you recall, the matter pertaining to gassing is now before the courts of law, and that's involving former President Edgar Lungu's aide, who is Mr. Chris Zimba, who was the president's political advisor. He is charged alongside other 2 people, one from Chawama, and the other one should be in the Munari constituency. So those are the people who are likely to be arrested. As I think we have a call there.
We have a caller on the line. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My contribution is, I want to pose a question to the representative there. You have talked about the negativities of the restructuring that has been attained. I haven't heard you talking about the benefits, because I'm sure this would not have been just labor in Peter. That the president was actually running up and down, trying to attain. So, can you tell me, suppose this restructuring was not attained, what could happen now or in the near future if the restructuring was not changed or was not attained?
Okay, all right.
Thank you very much. I think he joined us a little bit late, but he did talk about the benefits, and we had to ask him to give us the other side when we did talk about some sectors that are talking about nothing to celebrate about. But anyways, we'll give you an opportunity to quickly run through what you had said as regards the benefits of this particular restructuring.
Yes, so let me state that, you missed the point, but we started with the benefits. First of all, it was inevitable for Zambia to go under a debt restructuring program. It was unavoidable. Even just like, for instance, the IMF program, it was equally unavoidable given the conditions Zambia had.
Sure.
So we are emanating from the previous administration, the Patriotic Front, who overborrowed for this country. And to the extent that we were in a debt trap. As a result, we could not undertake various economic activities as a country. So because of the debt situation, even the PF themselves, they had embarked on a journey to engage the International Monetary Fund, because the International Monetary Fund acts as a surety for you to be able to start engaging even other new creditors, because now they will tell you to say, no, Zambia is a country that you can still trust in terms of lending the money, because they are working on a program to make sure that even their consumption is sustainable, they do not default on debt and everything. So if you look at Zambia, a country that defaults on debt, it cannot be termed worthy borrowing further resources. So even yourself, of course, for instance, if we borrow you 2,000 kwacha and you fail to pay, what will compel us to say to borrow you
another 1.5?
Another 1.5. So that was the case. So now this journey was inevitable for President Hichilema and his administration, or whoever would have won the election in the August 2021. So this journey, and it's a success. First of all, it's a success in that they are now, Zambia is a breathing space, like I was explaining. So they, like the python has let loose of our neck for a while, so that we can be able to re-strategize and plan how we are going to pay that debt, and also sustainably borrow for the current use, to be able to also pay back, because at the moment we are still borrowing, and we have that debt that we have restructured. So that restructured debt has not been forgiven, so it has been pushed further. So now it's not a one-off journey, like we have restructured the debt, now we sit down. No. So the president and his administration now have a huge task to see how do we raise enough revenue to be able to pay back within the agreements that they have made with these other, with these the creditors. So now those are the discussions now around Zambia undertaking industrialization for us to be able to generate enough revenue to pay back. Now, on the context of that other perspective we talked about, those who are talking about why celebrate the dead, for me, I was categorical and said, it is okay to accommodate their sentiments, because they just serve as a reminder to the administration to continuously take the country forward in terms of putting in place all the economic fundamentals and everything. For now, because look, if we have now this IMF program, because people know that, for example, Zambia will be able to do the right things. So what the IMF program does is that it makes us to spend within our means. There's nothing like spending recklessly. And if you look at the analysis that was made by the finance minister in the first quarter of 2023, it indicates that they have been spending within the targets, and that the deficit was just a minor, which tells you that on the case of financial discipline, this administration has demonstrated that they are okay when it comes to financial discipline. They want to work within the means and the recommended threshold. Now, to avoid us continue to be on the borrowing trajectory, or also maybe also getting into another debt trap in future, what do? It is about our own capacity building that we need to work on. How do we work on that? We have to make sure that we have enough revenue streams. Are we getting enough through our entities? Are we getting enough through taxes? Are we getting enough through the companies that are under the Industrial Development Corporation? So those are now things we need to make sure that now they are also operating viably to be able to generate enough sufficient resources to be able to pay back the loan. So the thing is that we haven't been forgiven, but we have been given room to breathe this time around. For example, this government can breathe, can choose to breathe throughout their term in office, and start panicking as the date comes. But is that the solution? The answer is no. We have to continuously look at avenues and opportunities that we can explore as a country to be able to still manage our debt issues, because now we may manage it because we still have the debt sustainability program, which the finance minister did allude to, that they have developed, and they have also other frameworks that helps them in terms of managing financial resources. We also have, for example, we also saw that the councils, the Local Government Service Commission, also introduced the service charter course, where the performance appraisals, all those mechanisms are aimed at making sure that things are utilized, are done correctly, and resources are channeled to their intended purposes. And if we are going to achieve that and fight this corruption, for example, the money will be able to save enough resources and pay our debt as a country.
I know that we are running out of time. We are coming to the end of the program, but there's one other developing story that we have seen, that Muza coach Lamek Banda has left the club, and on mutual consent. This is the first time that Musa was participating in the MTN Super League. They were promoted the other season. This season they played in the Super League and they were impressive. They impressed almost every football having Zambians. They played the final of the Absa Cup and they finished second from Division 1. This performance was similar to Leicester City some 4 seasons ago when they were promoted into the Premiership and they went on to win it. The coach is leaving. He has guided the team to play continental football.
But what would be the reason?
We will try and investigate the story. We will try and investigate the story as we bring it at our, or during our 19 hours menus. And he has left. And everybody was happy with how Musa was performing and how.
But sometimes maybe he's using that formula. They say sometimes you have to leave when people are clapping.
Still clapping.
What do you think? Or probably even.
No, but we want to continue clapping into the continental.
You know, when you're bringing a team to that level, for instance, because there are also other opportunities that emerge. Even other bigger clubs would also sort your services. So chances are high you may also get a better offer from other bigger clubs who may also offer a good parcel at the end of the day. So all those are things we can look at. And having guided the team, like you said, from the lower division to being the second placed team is not a simple or small job, because it takes a lot of efforts and determination. And we saw Musa bringing you mean the southern region has not done exceptionally well, especially when it comes to football. But you can imagine nurturing and starting a club and it ends up in the Premier League and it ends up in the second place. It's not a simple job. So we just hope that whoever succeeds. Having
some roots from the southern region, I won't agree with you when you say that we have not done.
We have this military group. That's a private institution team. Yeah. We have these military clubs that are big on that. Yeah. And Mazabuka was big, but not as big as
they had Nakambala.
Nakambala, yes. Yeah. They're not as big. But if you look, because...
No, but tell me about the Eastern Province. Any teams that have played in the Super League?
So are you seeing
Northern Province? Now, any teams that have Western Province? Any teams that
those are the traces. You see, beyond the government-sponsored side outfits, we have a team. They are sponsored by the private sector. Comes and the community then they're playing a major role, and it does wonders. You understand that? So even in other regions, that's something we need to also nurture. We make sure that our teams start at a very lower division, but we end up in the bigger leagues, because that will also demonstrate that we are growing as football, because largely our league is dominated by the Copper Belt and Lusaka. Yeah, so and most of the teams are also state sponsored, and we need to make sure we have a fusion, and make sure that there is a balance. Those in the private sector and those that are state sponsored are both doing fine.
Actually, if you look at it very well, the teams are just along the line of rail.
Yeah.
So that is another story to expect in our 19 hours news today, the issue of Lamek Banda leaving Musa FC. But we have to go now. Now remember that during the annual Agriculture and Commercial Show, we will be there, and we will be giving you stand coverages at very, very competitive prices. You will have to ensure, if you want to speak to as many people as 5 million in Zambia, you need to trust Camnet TV to do that for you. So on that note, we come to the end of today's edition of the Lunchtime Cafe. Don't forget to join us on Wednesday as we bring to you another exciting program. On behalf of the entire production team, have a blessed day.